I just listened. And I think that a lot of times entrepreneurs create programs that they want to deliver versus what are the needs of the people. Because the word says, go where I send you. And going where I send you requires you to stretch beyond your own prejudice and really hear the needs of the people.
Every life has its turning points, those moments when a single decision changes everything. My guest today has built 5 different lives before most people figure out how to get on their first. He sang and performed along Bette Midler on Broadway, trained the next generation of performers, built a company that hit Inc.'s 5,000 with a 440% growth rate, and then he did something that no one had ever done before. They didn't see him coming. He created, hosted, and produced the very first home renovation series, hosted and produced by a Black gay man for the Oprah Winfrey Network, HGTV, the Scott Brothers Entertainment Company, airing on HBO Max. Described by Oprah herself as the embodiment of Black boy joy, Robert Hartwell is unlocking what's possible in television, in spaces, and the stories we tell about who belongs where. I'm so glad you're here for this conversation. Let's get it going. Welcome to the call, Robert. It's so good to see you. I'm so grateful to have you in my space right now. It's my deep honor. And one of the things I love about you is not only that you are a creator and an artist, but you are the embodiment of someone who has made a decision to live a vision-driven life. And that's what I coach my clients around. And you really moved me. It's not the first time I'd heard about you, but I was definitely moved by your story of being a young 7-year-old young man deciding Broadway, that's what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
So I would love for you to share with us, what is it like to be this young person who decides at age 7, I will perform on Broadway, and then direct your life in a way such that you fulfilled that dream and went on to star in 5 different Broadway shows, major productions. I love that. And I'd love to hear more about, what did you know as a 7-year-old about the power of vision and the commitment that it was going to require of you, that you've noticed as a speaker, teacher, coach, that some adults still struggle with?
That is so beautiful, Lori, and I am so honored to be here in your space and in your light. And to anyone listening right now, I'm so excited we get to share this time together. That day when I was 7 years old and I saw my first show, because my mom was the Tiger Cub leader of our Boy Scout program, and she took us to the Tiger Cub Den. She took us to see a free play in town, and I'm from Raleigh, North Carolina. That is one of those banner days in life that you will forever be grateful for. It is a day that truly shaped who I am today. It's why I so believe in access to the arts. It's why I so believe in community theater. And it's also why I believe in the power of a single mother, right?
Amen.
I did not know what theater was before that day. But when
Hmm.
I saw those actors on that stage, I just knew that is what I'm supposed to do for the rest of my life. And I believe when you live a vision-driven life, which that day gave me a blueprint of everything that I wanted to be and accomplish. And were those actors on that stage that day on Broadway? No, but it was the Broadway of Raleigh, North Carolina to me. And at the time, I didn't even know what Broadway was, but I knew I wanted to dedicate my life to the craft. And I think when we think of vision-driven lives, the only way I was able to truly drive that vision was because all of my co-conspirators around me, my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my stepmom, my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, they all believed in what I saw and what I knew. And I didn't have interference in my home. I had support to go after that vision fully. And so when I'm now an adult and I work with clients, one of the first things that we talk about is clear out any interference, clear out the noise that is not connected to that higher vision and that highest vision. There's a moment I was 9 years old, and my dad is a basketball coach. He's an athletic director. And so his entire wardrobe is Adidas tracksuits and basketball jerseys and basketball t-shirts. And I will never forget, he went to Jack Graves, who was the screen printer in East Hampton, New York. And my dad came home with a white t-shirt, and on that t-shirt were big black letters that said Broadway. And that to me was the embodiment of love. It was the embodiment of infinite possibility. It was the embodiment of declaration. I didn't know what a vision board was at 9 years old, but I became a walking vision board by wearing what my straight father put on me, which was Broadway, right? Like he didn't say you have to go be a basketball player. He said, "Oh, if you're going to do this, if you go do this singing, dancing, and acting thing, we're going for the top. We're going for Broadway." And he put that on me. And so I really believe that it comes back to the co-conspirators and the words that you have spoken over your life and the words that you speak over your life.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Another thing that I love about the essence of Robert Hartwell is you are such a great storyteller and you have such great wealth of stories to draw upon. Would you please share with our listeners the story of Robert deciding that you were going to go to that masterclass summer camp and you called the woman over and over again? I think it was Miss Barbara. Can
Mhm.
you tell us about introducing the concept to the audience of persistence? Tell us
Mhm.
about that.
I knew around high school, it was very clear to me around ninth grade that if I were going to be on Broadway, that I needed to start getting in higher level training. And I had spent my life growing up in Raleigh, North Carolina, and very blessed to have wonderful resources there. And my first dance teacher, Miss Kirsty, just incredible people. But I knew that I needed to be at where the elite young people were training, and they were training at a place called Stagedoor Manor in New York. And now, Stagedoor Manor, I believe this is in the early 2000s. It was a 4 week summer training program, and it was $6,000
Mm.
for that. And this is 2003, 2004.
Yes.
And I remember being on that website, and I just said, there's no way that my single mom can do this because this is a lot of money. And the other thing is, I had already said yes to a ballet summer program earlier in the summer. So the money that I had been already raising for the summer was already accounted for. And so I went on the website, I read it top to bottom. I don't believe people read anymore. And so anyone that's listening, I want you to go read the entire website. And at the bottom of the website was the camp director's email address. Now, this was the time where everyone had an at AOL.com email address.
Mm-hmm.
I believe her, actually, no, for a fact, I'm sure this is not her email anymore, but it was stagedoorbarb at AOL.com. And so I emailed stagedoorbarb at AOL.com, and then I called Stage Door to let them know, please let Barb know that there is an email waiting for her. And in that email, I'm literally 15 years old, in that email, I said who I was, why I knew I was going to be on Broadway, but the missing link for me to be on Broadway was to be at that summer camp that summer. And that I would go and I would be the hardest working camper that she had ever met, and that I would be on Broadway and I would make them proud. And I did not hear back, and I followed up and I followed up and I followed up. And she eventually reached back out to me and she said, "We never do this." And we hop on a call. And so here I am with this like woman in her 50s on the phone, and I'm like 15 years old, and I am not pleading my case. Like, I was like, I'm not a charity case. I don't need a handout. Like, I am going to do the work, and you will be proud that you stood in the gap for me in this moment. And
Amen.
she ended up giving me a full scholarship to that summer program for the next 3 summers. And I believe I did her proud.
That's so great. I didn't know the 3 summers part. Okay.
3 summers in a row. 3 summers in a row.
That's so wonderful. I don't know if you know this, but back in the day, I used to work in the theater. And that's where I was introduced to the concept of masterclass,
Mm,
and that, dancers go to masterclass. And so Ailey would come to town, he would come to our theater and do a masterclass for our students. And I know that you went on to be an entrepreneur who created a new business. And this business took you from being on the Broadway stage as a performer to introducing young people to, you can have this too. As I would describe it, you created something that didn't exist for you when you were coming through, but you knew it would fill a gap. And I think you were very wise to understand that we live in an age where you got all these working mothers and they will do whatever it takes for their child to have whatever is needed. And you created the answer to what was needed. And so I would describe it as you needed an exit off of Broadway that felt good and elegant and was going to support you in the way that you wanted to be supported. And there was some good in it for others.
mm.
How did you tap? You're not a parent. So, how did you tap into those mothers who knew and what their kids needed and would do anything, walk on water, walk on fire for their children? Because
Mm.
you have a very elite program.
I listened. I believe I listened to what I was hearing parents say in the waiting room. I've always been a very observant person in a room. I think that when you are a black gay boy growing up in the South, you are always doing one of two things, you know? I think that you are being observant so that you're not the loudest person in the room because you don't want to be kicked out of the room because you're usually the only in the room, or you're over indexing because you want to make everybody know that you're safe to be in this room.
Mm,
So, two things that are honestly mutually healing still in therapy, right? As an adult. But when I think of how did I know what those parents needed, I just listened. And I think that a lot of times entrepreneurs create programs that they want to deliver versus what are the needs of the people. Because the word says, go where I send you. And going where I send you requires you to stretch beyond your own prejudice and really hear the needs of the people. And when you hear the needs of the people, you really hear their pain, and as I always say, most importantly, you hear where it is that they want to go. That's our only job as entrepreneurs is to identify two things. What are they struggling with and where is it that they want to be? And then I create the bridge. Your curriculum becomes the bridge for them to get from pain to promise. And once they get to every promise point, there's new pain. And so then you create a new bridge.
that's beautiful. And I really love that. That's really interesting because you made the transition from artist to entrepreneur. And you make it sound like it was such a smooth transition. Like you just decided and then you went. Is that how it felt?
No, it didn't. I wouldn't say that it felt smooth. Here's what I will say that it felt. It felt aligned. You will know by the quality of your sleep and or the amount of joy that you wake up with in the morning, how aligned you are living. And I dreamed my entire life about being on Broadway. That was 7 years old. I got there at 23 years old, and I spent 10 years there. And all the while, I was always, because I'm my mother and my father's son, I was always hustling. So I was never, quote unquote, just on Broadway. I was always on Broadway, but I always was busy doing other things. So I was always decorating, or I was always in dance classes, teaching musical theater classes. And when you go into other people's classrooms, you really start to see where their curriculum is failing their students, especially when they are not actively in the field. Like I can go into another entrepreneur space and learn from them, and I can tell if they are still remaining a student or not based on the quality of their teaching. Like, are they teaching me systems and modules of how marketing worked 5, 10 years ago? That doesn't work now. And
Hmm.
so the same is true in theater. And it all, Lori, comes down to decision. It's just I went to sleep one night and I was tired of feeling the way that I was feeling in my bed. And I was like, oh, I can change that. How I can change that is I can go start my own company. I don't have to worry about a Broadway show closing or not because I can't control whether a Broadway show stays open or not. The only thing I can control is that I come and perform in the 8 shows a week. I wanted something that I knew that I could control. I can control the success of my small business.
Which isn't very small.
You know what I mean.
I
But,
know.
to close that for you, it really just felt like a blessing to know that it was the aligned next step. Because trust me, when I was at college for musical theater, opening my own business or businesses one day, that was never in view for me.
I love that. Well, Robert, we only have a few more minutes. I have a couple of questions to leave you with. And one, I would love to know what's your advice? And what I hear you saying is for anyone that has an idea, there's vision, there's decision, and then there's action.
Mm.
If someone's listening right now and there's an idea that's been tugging at them, you said that you wake up and you're looking to feel joy. Okay. What would you advise someone who's unsure about their next right aligned step? What's your advice to them?
To take one piece of action each day. I think we wait for the big crescendo. We wait for the big result. Like there has to be X amount of money in my account, or I have to reach the big, big goal. And that's not how goals are achieved. That's not how businesses are built. You take one action at a time. And you trust also that everything is on time. The only thing that could delay a blessing's arrival is your refusal to take the next step.
Amen. Now, we haven't talked about it. I don't know any stories that you like learned from. You might consider like that was a failure, but I learned from it. What's a quick story that you could tell us about recovering from failure and using it as a stepping stone?
Oh my goodness. So, what a gift failure is. Like, what a gift failure is, which is why it's so important to be surrounded by wonderful people. Two of my best friends in the entire world are Rachel Rogers and Susan Hyatt. and they hold me so tight. And something that Rachel always says is that shame shields solutions. And when we don't share with our people what's really going on, that shame is shielding them from being able to pour solution ideas into you or to allow you to see solutions in a different way.
Mm.
I would say when I was finishing my home renovation in 2023, I was also at a really big inflection point with my first company, the Broadway Collective, because at that point, Broadway from 2020 to nearly 2021 was virtually shut down for 18 months. And it's very hard to sell a dream to parents of an industry that does not exist. And that is what we were doing at the Broadway Collective was sharing a curriculum that was based on their child becoming a musical theater BFA graduate and moving to New York City and auditioning for Broadway shows. Broadway did not exist. So to see our multi-million dollar company start to lose students at the rate that we were losing them, it was heartbreaking because you knew that the thing that you had built was successful. You know that the curriculum works because of the success rate of the students. But to one day wake up and you are looking at your 25 full-time employees, I employed many mothers, many fathers, many expectant mothers, people that were getting ready to have children, and to wake up and say, oh, this team of 25 full-time employees who has been with me since the beginning, I need to let 15 of you go.
Mm.
And then I need to wake up, oh, in 2 more weeks and let another five of you go. Like it really starts to feel like failure really quick. And it doesn't matter that your business is making multi-millions of dollars. The reality is the numbers are crashing down right now because enrollments are not happening. And so in that moment, it's so easy to go, I'm a failure. I have let everyone down and people are going to struggle right now. Or you can lean on your friends and tell them the truth of what you are feeling. And in that moment, Rachel said, well, what in the Broadway Collective did you always love doing? What was the thing that lit you up the most? And I said, oh my gosh, getting my kids into college. Like I loved their senior year. I would bring them to New York and I would take their headshots. I would get them a stylist. It was like Robert's finishing school, right? Like I would gussy my teens up and like go get them into these top schools. And she said, well, take that idea and what if you did it for entrepreneurs? And so that's how my company, Strength on Stages, was built. It was built in a literal fire. It was like everything had burnt down, but I didn't, right? Like
I
I'm
love
still
that.
here. And so if I'm still here and there's still breath in my body, then that is divine significance that the work is not done. And so you were actually in the audience the first time that I shared Strength on Stages. And I told people that if you have a story to tell, I want you to stand up and I want to talk to you about what it could look like to tell that story together. And it's really amazing to think that in the middle of that, I wish I could go back and tell that guy who was really feeling like, I can't believe this is happening to me. And I know that God is going to turn this into my good, that in 2026, we'd be on track to be a $5 million company this year.
Beautiful. Well, Robert, what I often do when I'm working with you, sometimes the reason I'm going is because I want to see how you put things together. And one of the things that I really love and that I have learned the hard way from you is to deliver at the level that you and I want to deliver services at. It requires support. And the person who's going to have the mic and be on stage needs to just do that and let the other people behind support them. And those people need to be paid too. And with that, you have to require your clients to invest at a level that's going to support all of those things. And I appreciate being able to see standing firmly inside the vision of this is who I am. This is the level of service I deliver. And the people who want that are going to show up. And I love your team. And actually, that's the answer to all this nonsense about DEI. We employ our own people. We make work happen. We give people an opportunity to do what needs to be done. We're not, as you said at the beginning, not looking for a handout.
Mm-mm.
So thank you so much for all that you do. Your
Mm.
bio says that when you're not producing and creating great businesses, you spend time polishing your 21 chandeliers.
Yes.
And I love that because, again, you stand for what you really want, not what somebody else tells you you can have. So thank you for being such a great example. Where can the people find you?
Well, I have to give you your flowers, Lori, because there is nothing more filling than the affirmation of a Black woman. There isn't. There truly isn't. And it does not matter if you have a broken leg, or it does not matter if the event that I'm hosting is on the other side of the country. You have always been a woman of your word that shows up for me in such a mighty way, whether it is coming to the most in Los Angeles or coming to, Laura, you have no idea that day that we had my TV show premiere for Breaking New Ground on Max in Los Angeles, and you showing up to that theater, you have no idea how much I needed that win that day because that was a particularly really hard season in my life. And to have someone be there and show up for me just you just don't know how much you blessed my life by your being in that theater that night because that was a really hard, difficult road to travel and to finally get to the destination and have people there that love you and that see you, I will never be able to say thank you enough. You show up also in my business. You've been a client, you have been a friend, and you've been in my home. I thank you for who you are and how you show us what showing up should look like. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And, that's one of my core values. I believe in that.
Mhm.
But June 17th, 2024, your premiere, you shared your gratitude practice with me. It changed my life.
Mhm.
And you know that 10 days later, I was flat on my back.
Mhm.
But I fell from that ladder. And because what you had told me, I was high on gratitude that day.
Mhm.
And I got really crappy medical care. And it could not change my countenance
Mhm.
because I was so high on gratitude
Mhm.
that it took them 6 hours to recognize that I was in tremendous pain and for them to give me something other than a Tylenol. But because I was so grateful,
Mhm.
because what you had taught me on June 17th, 2024,
Mhm.
kept my energy up such
Mhm.
that I remembered whose I was.
I know that's right. Oh, I know that's
Yes.
right.
So I want to tell you thank you.
Thank you.
And it's
Thank
my
you.
great honor and privilege to be in your world, and I will continue to be forever. You family.
I know you are too. You are too. It's so funny. This morning when I was in my gratitude practice, I smiled as I was doing. I did the gratitude section and the affirmation section. When I got to the declaration section, I wrote about our interview that we were going to do today, and I just smiled, just saying, I believe Lori's probably doing the same thing right now on different time zones, of course,
Mhm.
but that made me smile. But to anyone who is listening that is saying, how can we connect? I have a weekly free masterclass. It's called Tell Your Story because I believe that we all have a story that we're supposed to be telling in our businesses right now. And we just don't yet have the framework. So people can go to strengthonstages.com/masterclass.
Thank you, and I highly recommend it. Everything that Robert does, he does well in
Thank
an excellent way, and you will be well set up for your next chapter. Thank
you.
you so much, Robert. It's been my honor and privilege to have you in my room. Thank you.
God bless you, Lori. Thank you for this.